All right, we're at Miami Art Basel, and we're interviewing artist called Nobody.
AKA TMNK, Me Nobody Knows.
And we are part of Black Business News, and what we're doing is bringing direct financial investment, access to capital from the big banks, big private equity firms. How would you see your role in that, showing that great wealth creation can be made in the African American community? We have double-digit companies growing by double digits. The young African American women, we're seeing the best brains, the most competitive people, but they're not getting the good jobs. How would you see you changing this?
I guess I would see myself changing that dichotomy, that conversation, by realizing that the value and wealth is in me. So rather than thinking that my commerce begins in what I sell and what I manufacture, it begins in me believing that I am of value. And the things I create, therefore, are valuable. If a company is willing to pay me $100,000 a year or $20,000, they're not going to do that if only your worth is $20,000. They're doing that because they know they can make 3 times, 4 times off of you. That means you're really worth $60,000 or $80,000. In my case, I was making $100,000 before I quit my job and become a street artist, which means that company was making close to $300,000, leave $500,000 off of me. But I didn't believe in my value. I wasn't willing to take that risk until I did to become a street artist. And now I realize the paintings I make, whether I sell them or not, just like a real estate guy in Miami, he can own a bunch of real estate beachfront properties, and they might not be selling right now, but trust and believe he's still wealthy. They're still worth millions, and one day for my paintings, whether I sell them or not, I'm worldwide renowned and they're worth millions. You can see me now, trust me, you're going to see me later.
But I was just talking, you were in Basel, you were in Amsterdam, you have an international exposure. We may have, the American Express CEO, Carl Rubenstein, you went to Howard. I mean, your appearance is completely opposite to something that somebody would expect. This is something that I just discovered now, and I think anybody else seeing this would be quite surprised.
I think the lesson or the message, the story behind that is the same way it took one astute businessman in Miami to realize these vacant warehouses in Miami were not undervalued, they were actually quite valuable. And he invested and threw a little paint on them with street art. And then a bunch of real estate investors realized these properties are really quite valuable. Well, Afro-Americans, others undervalued, need to realize they're $1 million properties. And all you need to do is invest a little in yourself, in education, in training, and most importantly, in believing in yourself. Because as a man thinketh, he is. So if you think that you're a broke-ass whatever, that's what you are. Me, when I hit the streets of Soho in 2006, I didn't look at myself as a street vendor. That's what all the other cats were. Me, I was a great street artist. I'm selling on the street, I'm a street artist. And then I told everybody then, it's just a matter of time. And 3 months later, I was traveling around the world because I never looked at myself as nothing. I may call myself nobody, but trust and believe, I know I'm somebody.
And what you were saying before about mentoring and having, city kids go and see how life works with going doctors. Can you tell me more about that and how?
Listen, I remember when I started doing my street art that Bill Cosby made a statement that Afro-Americans needed to pick themselves up by their bootstraps. And I said, I did a street art, little stickers I put around town. I said the problem is that people like you are no longer in this hood. What happens is in the inner city, there are a bunch of people who make stuff of their lives. They become doctors, they become lawyers, they become successful. But once they do, they're out of the hood. So the people left in the hood, let's equate them to drivers. These are people who don't know how to drive through life. And the good drivers have graduated and left. There's no one teaching them how to drive, but everybody's telling them how fucked up they drive. Well, why don't we, I'm a street artist, I go back to the community. I've learned to drive better. I'm teaching others how to drive so they can drive out of the hood. Why don't the Bill Cosby? Why don't the doctors? I know you guys donate to NAACP. Why don't you donate to her, him, Shem, them, and me? If you're in the hood and they see you every day, like they see drug dealers, then little kids know, I know that drug dealer. He's no different than me. I could do the same thing he does. But they don't see the doctors. They don't see the lawyers. They don't see the successful people. So for them to believe when they're poor, when they're hungry, when their mother's on drugs, that one day they get study hard, it's like going to the moon. But if they knew a doctor, if they were hanging out every day, going shopping in a restaurant with those type of people, they would have those aspirations. So that's why I write Nobody Cares. Because if you want to call me a N-word, Well, this N-word puts his money where his mouth is. I brought homeless kids into my home. I mentor inner city kids, and I take them to restaurants so they can see that one day, if they believe in themselves, if they study hard, they don't have to be that kid that was displaced by Wynwood growth. They could be that kid who's part of Wynwood growth. At 10 years old, 10 years from now, Wynwood is going to be this multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar area where the properties are going to be going for $20 million. That kid could be a promoter. That kid could be a restaurant owner. That kid could be a lawyer. But if no one invests in that kid now, it'd be like Wynwood was 5 years ago. Just undervalued, worthless.
Thank you.